Hey, what's up, guys? Node Investor here, live with the folks out in YouTube and anywhere in the world, wherever you may be. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Happy to have you guys. Let's look at some charts today. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts about these wild and crazy times we are living in. The turbulence, the FUD, the fake tweets, the you name it. We got it. Welcome to cryptocurrency. You know, you guys got to remember, just always remember, this is not a normal market. Things are crazy all the time. So if you're new here, if you're new to crypto space and you're thinking, man, these 2 months have been wild and crazy, let me just break it to you. It's been like this since day one, unfortunately, and it's going to continue. So you got to have a little bit of a tough stomach to enjoy the markets here, the turbulence, the fun and the wild rides. And if you don't like that, well, I suppose there's always bond investing. Right? So, all right, guys. Hey, let's see here. So what do I want to cover first before we start looking at charts? I'm going to talk Bitcoin. I'm going to do a deep technical analysis on Bitcoin, and then I'll go through a few of the other charts that I'm watching, and we'll see what else we got. So first things first, my course price changes, if you will, are tracking Bitcoin a little bit, not day to day. I'm going to do it like, maybe once a day. So I updated it today. I think it's $35, and I need to post some new stuff out here, commentary and all that fun stuff. But right now we're 35 bucks. And so I will continue this for another week. So whatever the price of Bitcoin is, the first 2 digits will be the price of the course, give or take. And max 40, low end 30. And I'm hoping that at the end of the next week, we're good to go. We're set. We're above 4. And we'll see, right? So let's see what else we got here. I'm seeing people from all over. We got Spain. All right. Australia. A lot of U.S. folks. We've got, do we have anybody from China? Anybody from China here? I know I have some Puerto Rican friends and some folks that are taking the course and all that. So guys, stay safe. I've been sending text messages to some of my friends out in Puerto Rico, and man, oh man, crazy over there. Out of power, out of internet, no phone, just crazy. So stay safe, everyone. I know there's still some crazy weather hitting other places in the world right now. So what else? We got Croatia, Ireland, Mexico, New York, Utah, Orange County. All right, let's get to it. All right, so Bitcoin, guys. So you guys remember a few weeks back, I was talking Bitcoin. It was right around this $4,300. And I started talking about, hey, it's not looking good. It's feeling a little toppy. It was a very unpopular thing to say. Now everyone's saying it, so it's all good now. But back here, it was like, how dare you, futter, you're fudding. And guys, it is what it is. It's the markets. I'm reading the charts and I'm saying it felt weak up here. I started to scale out of my long-term portfolio, started to build some cash reserves, looking for opportunities. The stuff that was riskier, the stuff that had big profits, things like Omise Go, I was clearing them out. And it was just time to start getting cautious. And here we go. Now we've fallen, and it's hard to believe, but it was only last week that we had this big spike to the downside, big volume that came in, held the 100-day moving average, and reversed. And that's it, right? So now we've kind of been chopping back and forth. So now the question is, this big bounce we had, I mean, that was pretty decent bounce here. What was this? Probably should know this. It was like 30-40% or something like that. Yeah, 37% bounce. And now we're pulling back. And so the question is, was that it? Are we done? Are we going to go down further? Are we going to test these lows, or are we going to hold? Ideally, right, we'd bounce, we'd make a higher low. And right now that's still in the cards. and then we'd start to move higher and begin to take out this descending trend that's still in play. And so there's two things that I want to look at. So longer term, and longer term in cryptocurrency is way different. So just keep that in mind. Longer term meaning the next month or two. You know, just the overall, right? I'm not talking longer term. Where will we be next December? Who knows? And honestly, I don't care at this point, right? I'm just going to work with what we got. But just this longer term trend that started at the beginning of September, that's in place right now, it's still a downtrend. There's just no way about that. That's been established, and we had this high right around 4,100. We've broken to the downside since then. So I'm going to want to see that clear. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to take any positions before that downtrend is broken. I'm going to start looking at the volume action, but until that's broken, yes, that's going to be a thought in the back of my mind with any positions I take and any trades I'm making, just because it's still in play, right? So we're not sure yet if, hey, we're just taking little bounces and making these short trades, or if this is time to start gearing up for a little bit more of a longer term upswing. Now, back in here at these lows, this was a fabulous buying opportunity, and you know, we're bouncing now, and it's up to you if you're going to take profits or not. So that's what I'm looking at. So I did a little bit of a Fibonacci retracement in the newsletter that I sent out, and what I was looking at was just from the bounce that we had here, clear up to the top, what were the levels there? And the levels that I was looking at is this 618, right around the 3,400 mark, right? A little higher, but just right around there. And then the lower one is the 786 level, and that's just below the 100-day moving average. So if we saw a spike low, those are the two areas where I'm thinking we're going to see some good support come in. The 3,400 area would be nice if we could buy in there. So above that anywhere. And then below that, I'm thinking 3,300, give or take. That's going to be the area that it better hold. I mean, that's just solid. If we don't close above that, that's going to be a very bad sign, and we could see another sharp leg down. So I don't think we're going to see that just yet, and I'll tell you why. Near term, it's starting to look like it wants to bounce a little bit here. And so that's what I'm liking. So this is the daily chart. This is the longer term. Now let's look at some closer time frames. And I didn't set my charts up here for some reason. Let's do that real quick. All right. And let me show you guys the 1 hour chart. Let me close out some of these moving averages to clear a little bit of the noise there. And I'm going to take volume out too. So on the 1 hour chart, there's something very interesting that I want to point out here. Notice the most recent lows we had in the last day. Right? You can see that we've had this low hit around 3,600, and then it dropped again below that. And we've had a lower low put in right here, right? So it's kind of put in this little double bottom on the hourly charts. But what I'm liking about this is the RSI is putting in a bullish divergence here at these lows on the hourly charts. And that is a positive sign for the very short term. I'm talking 1 hour charts here, but that's a good sign, right? We had this low, and then we had a lower low, but the RSI is higher here. And so typically what that means is this is going to start to form a little bit of a reversal pattern in the short run. So if we go to the 2 hour chart, you can see it a little bit better there. And so what I'd be looking for is this little bit of a double bottom that forms here and then begins to head higher. Now the test is still going to be this downtrend. But if you start to get above 37 again, which was the area it really struggled around here yesterday, that's going to be the first sign that, okay, it's firming up a little bit here. And that's, again, very short term, very near term, but that's a good little reversal pattern that may be in place here. A failure here would be if it just shot lower here and did a third low point, which would bring it down this RSI again. And potentially that would set us up for that 3,450 to 3,300 low point that I'm looking for. Unless we have any kind of crazy news, which is possible, I don't see it just shooting straight down to this 30, this 3,000 area right now, right? We might see a bounce first and then a pullback to that, but right now I'm not seeing that in the cards, right? The other thing, which we'll see in a minute here, is the altcoins. you know, the last couple of days they've tried and they've tried. All rallies have failed. The only thing that was pumping was the crap coins, if I could say it that way. Let's be honest. Some of these were just straight up pump and dumps, very low, small names. And that was the only thing that was working. And everything else, it would try and it would pump and it would fail. And that was the clue. That's starting to change here a little bit. It feels like some of the altcoins are starting to firm up a little bit. We saw Neo, we saw 10x today. We're seeing Zcash show some strain. So that's further confirmation in the short term that, hey, maybe we're finding a little bit of a low here. And so I'm liking that. And so that's what I'm looking for on, you know, the overall market trend. So to summarize, Bitcoin, longer term, daily chart, yes, still looking weak. And if I was just looking straight up the daily chart here, I'd say this is very bearish. We keep rallying into the 10 EMA on the daily and failing, and we're going to go further. That would be the pure assessment just based on this chart. But looking at the shorter term, I'm looking at a couple of other things in play. So a couple of ideas there. Let's see what else here. Again, it's still not clearing the 10 EMA on the 4 hour. So we really need to start breaking that to the upside if this bounce attempt is going to have any legs to it. Now, I'm always looking at the charts and thinking, what's the pattern? What's potentially in play? What could be happening next? Trying to stay one step ahead, right? You never know, but you're always looking at what are the probable scenarios. And putting my bear goggles back on, and I know you guys hate that, putting the bear goggles back on the 4 hour chart, if we bounce and we fail to clear resistance around 3,800, here is what potentially could be happening on the 4 hour chart. We could have a left shoulder forming. We should have a little head forming here. This could be the beginning of a left or a right shoulder if we have a failed bounce attempt. Now, keep in mind, this right shoulder could very likely coincide with that downtrend that continues to be resistance right now. So that's also another potential, right? So that's why, you know, just always kind of being cautious, looking at both angles. Can't let it stop you, right? Don't let paralysis of analysis take hold. But I'm just always looking at that, right? I'm always looking, is this higher risk? Is this low risk? And this just because we're in a downtrend, right? If we were back here and we were looking at, you know, these bounces and these pullbacks, clearly the trend is up. And at that point, you can loosen the stops a little bit, take a little bit higher risks, and go from there. But we're not, right? We're in an overall downtrend, at least for the last month. And so you just have to take a little bit more of a defensive posture when you're looking at those things. All right, so that's Bitcoin in a nutshell. A couple thoughts around the news that may drive this. You know, the big thing continues to be China. Are they banning Bitcoin mining now? And, you know, I'm always wondering, what's the ulterior motive? Because they would be crazy to just outright ban cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. I mean, that's just insane to do that. And any country that begins to go down that path is just going to be left behind. And I don't think China's doing that. I think they're playing here. Will they ban Bitcoin? If the answer is yes, they're going to just completely ban Bitcoin mining. The reason has to be compelling. They're going to come up with their own currency that they want to promote or use. I mean, there just has to be another reason. And typically the reason is, and not just China, but everybody, other major governments, is the money, right? So maybe they're just trying to set up their own exchanges. They're trying to regulate it. They're trying to set up, you know, have their cut of the mining, have their cut of the exchanges. I mean, who knows, right? So those are just my thoughts. And I'm just looking at that just from a broader sense. You see central banks generally wanting to have a little bit of control, and cryptocurrency is a huge threat if they don't have control or some level of skin in the game here. So just my thoughts. So that being said, I'm thinking if China comes out tomorrow and says, we're not going to ban mining, like if they just straight up officially say that, we're going to have a big pop, in my opinion. I think that would just take a lot of the fear out of the market. Or if they come out and say, hey, we're going to regulate it, but we're going to start allowing it, and here are the rules. Just that alone, I think, would bring some bullishness back to the markets. So just some speculation, some thoughts there on news impact. All right, so let's see what else we got here. So let's cycle through some of the other ones. Let's look at Ethereum. What are we looking like on Ethereum here? So Ethereum, you know, for the most part, it's following the pattern. It's a little bit stronger here, relative strength speaking. You know, we're having this dip. Bitcoin's dipping right back down to this point. Ethereum's not, so it's dipping less. The RSI is a little bit stronger here, and so Ethereum, from a relative strength perspective, is a little bit stronger, not by much. General pattern is the same. If we look at Ethereum BTC, you can tell here the last couple of hours it's been ticking up a little bit, but it has these sharp moves too. So it's going to, for the most part, track Bitcoin unless there's some news around the project. I know they delayed some stuff here today, but nothing major. So we'll see what Ethereum does. I mean, it's on the 4-hour chart, still below the 10 EMA, but so is everything else. But I think we're close. It looks like this is trying to put in a little bit of a double bottom too. Let me zoom in a little bit. There you go. You can see that little bit double bottom here. And then the RSI is starting to tick up. So I like to see that here. And, you know, the confirmation will be if it clears this little, the middle of the W there, if it can close above that. So if you can get above 270 on Ethereum, we're going to start to rally. And again, the big resistance level where we broke down just a little bit. So 279, so not far above. I mean, it's just going to have a couple of levels to get above, unfortunately. Let's look at Litecoin. That was showing a little strength earlier here. Litecoin. So Litecoin, same pattern, a little bit of a W on the 2-hour chart. The daily, I think, still looks pretty weak here, you know, and it's just way overextended to the downside right now. I mean, even a rally from here to the 10 EMA, you know, it's 7 to 10% depending on how quickly it goes up. But that's just how extended we are to the downside right now. And that's probably a good thing if it's just that extended and wants this rally. It's putting in a couple of good lows here. So if this low will hold, again, we could see a nice little double bottom pattern forming on some of these. Let's see what Litecoin looks like versus Bitcoin. Yeah, let me see here. Yeah, just that giant head and shoulders pattern still, but we'll see. It's got to break this downtrend versus Bitcoin. Could rally near term just because it's a little more on the weaker side of the three. But if I had to pick my top choice of the big three, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, I'd probably go Ethereum right now. All right, let's see what else we have going on here. I'm going to bring volume back in. Again, the thing that's got me feeling not safe, but what's the word I'm looking for? The thing that has me looking for a break of the downtrend is this big volume reversal we had at the bottom of all the charts. I mean, it was just a massive sell-off, and I get it was just insanely oversold, but that was just huge volume. And on most charts, it was probably the biggest volume, you know, all year at least, if not history, and it was just huge. And so that just shows me that there was just insane amount of support at these levels. Even if we do dip down, I just see that as an area that's going to hold on most of these charts, you know, and I'm hopeful that that will help break this downtrend, you know, and it may not just shoot straight back up, guys. Keep that in mind, right? This could just begin to just consolidate for a little bit. We have this big downtrend, we have this huge rally, and then we start to consolidate and bounce around here and build a little bit of a base. And so, you know, I'm not necessarily saying if we break the downtrend, that's it. It's going to go straight up. And I really doubt that. I really doubt it. It would probably break the downtrend, pop up a little bit, pull back, and just kind of start backfilling a little bit here. So, all right. So that's Ethereum. Let's look at NEO. What's NEO doing? NEO, man, NEO. I've been waiting for NEO to bottom, like most of you guys, for like 5 years. Let's see. NEO. All right. So here's what I was looking at on NEO, right? First, the downtrend. And this one's been in a downtrend well before Bitcoin and the rest of the market. So if we look at that, right, it was really trying today, and it's really close. I mean, it's like poking its head out and trying to come back, and it's going. And so what I was looking at here is two potential things. All right. So putting the bear goggles back on, you know, after this big downtrend, we're kind of have this little bit of a descending triangle potential pattern, right? Bounce, rally, attempt, bounce. And generally speaking, this would resolve itself to the downside and break down here. Now, zooming in a little bit, if we begin to look at the 4-hour chart first, what I was looking at is, okay, this series of higher lows versus Bitcoin is starting to form. So generally on a descending pattern, the base is pretty consistent. It's a little bit more flat. This is a little bit more pointy. And so it's kind of hitting the apex of this triangle. In the last couple of days, I've been thinking it's going to show its hand one way or the other here pretty soon. And the positive is, let me zoom in a little bit. It's kind of hard to see, but the positive, let me hide this RSI. The volume patterns, if you notice that the green, you see that there's big volume on the sell-off. This big sell-off was red, but that was capitulation in my opinion. And then you see the big green bar and then big green here. And the higher days, the big average days are all big green bars, and they're just showing some signs of accumulation here at the lows. And so I'm liking that. And so zooming in, looking at the action of today here, we had the little break above the trend line, and now we're pulling right back in, and we're hitting that trend line, which is not unusual. And I'm going to give it down to like the 10 EMA, right? If it can hold and bounce off that and begin to show some back and fill in here, or even clearing the high of today, very positive sign for NEO. I really would like to see some more volume coming in, honestly. I mean, that was a pretty decent move, but you know, I'd like to see it to be a little bit higher. That being said, it's encouraging to see that NEO's trying here, you know. And the other thing was gas. I saw some of you guys commenting about gas, and gas has just been going crazy. And you know, I'm kind of wondering, is that a forerunner? Is it going to start to catch up to NEO? Is it going to exceed NEO? I mean, certainly much smaller supply right now, but hopefully we start to see some action in NEO and gas. And I'm thinking this is a good time now. If you're a long-term holder, you know, just trying to build an accumulation here, not just trading this, but I mean, right around these lows are ideal right now, in my opinion, to start scooping some of this up. If we go to the NEO dollar, obviously it's going to be a little bit worse just because it tracks Bitcoin. But again, here, right, we had the extreme low at 13, and now we're holding this 16 level. You know, versus the dollar, I'd like to see this clear the 20. It's going to really look good on the charts. And if that happens, you know, on the BTC chart, we'll certainly see some confirmation. It'll start to be higher up here. So definitely watching NEO, guys. NEO's looking good. I like the project still longer term. And this is going to be a critical couple of days, in my opinion, for NEO. I mean, if it just totally reverses this and starts to break this trend to the downside, you know, it's going to be like this up here, right, where we had this big break, good volume, and then just blah. You know, big break, fail, right? Look at this one. So that's still in the cards, and I'm always thinking about that. It's always just got to consider it. All right, let's see what else I have on my list. Zcash. All right, let's see. Zcash strong here today. Not bad. Good action coming off the lows. Let me zoom out a little bit first. Let's talk the dailies on Zcash. So it's trying, right? It had this crazy downtrend here. And this is versus Bitcoin, guys, just to be clear. But what I like to point out here is on the BTC chart, going way back here to April, look at that. Support. And then right here in May, support. And then right here in August, support. And then just here this week, big support. And then look at the volume that came in today. Very bullish sign, guys. Very nice. Right off this multiple low, which is a critical low, because if it breaks that versus Bitcoin, you're going to have a huge leg down. And it just rallied with a lot of volume. So that's a good sign. It's signaling to me that it wants to go higher. And that's what I'm looking at here. So I'm liking the action on Zcash. If we look at Zcash, let me zoom out to Polo, I think, has more history on Zcash here. Yeah. So Zcash versus USDT. You know, this is a little more choppy, but again, you have the lows down here. You've got this, you know, the 150 that held, 150, 60 area, and then the extreme low we saw last week that held massive volume. And then today, above average volume coming in as it starts to clear this little consolidation that was put in here. So if we zoom in on that, let me hide the volume now that we've seen it. But, you know, it's trying, right? It's trying to clear this little area here. And if we look at the 4-hour chart, you can see that little wicks are showing up here. You know, the resistance is right at that line. So the sellers just keep showing up there. And that kind of correlates back here with this little area around, you know, just right above 204 to 210. And so if we start to clear this and volume really starts to come in, that's going to be a pretty good little breakout for Zcash, and we could see another leg up here. And I'm thinking, we'd take it to 225, maybe as high as 250 on a pump. And Zcash tends to have those little runs. If we go to 225, we start to break out, that's a good 13% run from here, and 250 is going to take you 26%. So, not tremendous. I mean, heck, 10x did that in an hour this morning, but not bad either, guys, especially for a little bit of a bigger name. What is Zcash at anywhere? I guess they're not that big. They're probably like 400 million or something. Zcash, 453. Yeah. But the chart's not looking bad. It's not bad. All right. I mean, you look at the comments here. What else do we got going on? I got a few more names I'm going to talk about, and I will get through most of these here. So we talked Litecoin, and we talked Bitcoin. We talked Ethereum. If you're joining late, I apologize. But we're going to move on to the other ones. Omise Go. Yeah, I'm going to cover that one. Lisk. I will cover Lisk. All right. What do you guys want to talk about? Monero, Verge, Steve, Rise. All right. All right. Cool. Got a lot of names coming through here. Everybody wants to talk Omise Go. You know what that tells me? You're all holding Omise Go. All right. Let's see here. Oh, man. Let's go to, what I want to talk about? Decred. And I'll cover those names we just talked about here. But Decred, there's been some news. Atomic swap with Litecoin. They've been a project that's been doing a lot of development here over the last, for a while, actually. And I was looking at Decred here at this rally we had before the big break in June, and it looked like it was trying to break out on the dailies. Now, the thing with Decred up here, these bars were just crazy volatile. I mean, look at how long the wicks are on some of these candles. This is a daily chart. So in one day, you're removing, just insane amounts. That's just crazy. And it's really hard to hold something like that and trade it, unless you're just buying it at these lows. So I didn't like that, but knowing that that's the history, I'm kind of looking at this little base it's putting in here. And what I'm starting to like is, okay, it had this big rally from, where was that? So that 520 Satoshi level, right? We had this huge rally, took us up 82%. And since then, we've pulled back, and this dip equates to about 33% or so. And then we're rallying now, and we're putting this little handle. And so in my eyes, what I'm seeing is, okay, we had the big rally, and we're doing this little bit of almost a cup type of base, and it's starting to put in this little bit of a handle. Now, I know it's a little choppy, but if you look at that, this is a classic little pullback, and the volume on that is starting to drift down as it pulls back. And so I'm liking that setup here on the daily charts. It's probably looking one of the cleanest from a base perspective, something a little bit more actionable. And you see the accumulation on the right side here, a lot of volume coming in. On the sell side, volume starting to drift down. These two red bars on the daily, look how low the sell volume was there. And, here at the low of the base, it wasn't crazy low. Up here, there's more volume. So I'm liking this little setup on Decred. And I'm thinking if it starts to move out above this little pullback that it's pulling in right now, and if it can clear, basically let's call it 0.01. And if we get above 0.01 BTC, you can see a nice little run on Decred. And, even getting up to the old highs versus Bitcoin, that's a long ways out. But if we break out there, it's huge. That's a double. That's 100%. So not saying it's going to double. I'm just saying, watch this pattern here, guys. I'm liking this setup on Decred. I'm going to keep an eye on this one. And if this starts to break out here, might be something to jump on. Again, super volatile. If you're a longer term holder, this might be a good place to add to the longer term hold, just because if it breaks out, it can go up, but even just giving it room down to the moving averages, you're going to have to give it like 15, maybe 20% just so you don't get shaken out. And that's just the history with Decred. These bars are very tall, and they're just on a daily basis volatile. And so you have to factor that in, right? If you put like a buy on the breakout and you put a 5% stop or something, you're just going to get shaken out. So gotta always weigh the option with the volatility, the historical volatility on a coin when you're making those trades and entries, and that'll help you determine how wide to set the stop. And sometimes you got to be willing to take the loss or not, right? So if you're willing to take 15% to make 50% or something, right, it's not a bad trade, but has to work out, obviously. So Decred. All right, let's look at Omise Go. And so I've been communicating that I have not been bullish on Omise Go as of late, and I will show you guys why. But let's see if it turns around here, right? So, I mean, I'm hoping it does. Am I looking at the right Bittrex? Omise Go. Yeah, there we go. Why does this chart look funny to me? Let me try Omise Go on Bitfinex. Yeah? Okay. Oh, I know why it looks funny to me. Because the chart I was looking for was this one, the USD one, right? So we'll look at the BTC one. But versus the dollar here, what I was looking at was we had this nice rally, and we were stair-stepping, right? We had these beautiful ascending bases, big rally, another little flat base, big rally, and then it had this long consolidation here around $8. You know, had the big pop, failed, then it's just started getting really wide and loose and choppy, and you know, right around this 13 mark, just could not get above it and really started to fail. And that's when a lot of sellers come in. And I think I started saying, hey, it's really starting to struggle around 13 bucks, guys. Be careful if it breaks 11. Bad news. And sure enough, it broke 11. Look at what it did. It came all the way to 9, bounced, couldn't really close that $11 mark for the most part, and then just wham, smacked down big time. We rallied again, and look at where we peaked, right at 11. And so because of that, I've not been in it since then, because I mean, it has to prove itself to me. I mean, it's got to really say that it's strong, it's going to recapture this area. And right now it's just not. And so what I was looking at is this little weird, like double top plus this broader head and shoulder pattern that was forming, right? So you see the right shoulder here, and then this weird double top with a, you know, could be the head, and then a lower shoulder down here, which also correlated with that $11 mark that it couldn't break. And so that's why I was bearish on Omise Go, and right now I kind of still am, right, as far as a longer term hold, just because it needs to work some of this out. So because it had such a big run, I'm thinking Omise Go might just back and forth here a little bit, maybe pull in a little bit more. So on the daily chart, it's still breaking down here. So if you look at the daily chart, you know, it doesn't look strong per se. Nothing really does. I mean, to be fair, right? The rest of the market's kind of since September just kind of putting in this pullback. And Omise Go was one of the stalwarts that was really holding up. I mean, for the most part, it was holding up right until you know, that the big week where China started communicating banning and all that. And so that was last week here. And since then, it's kind of just been looking a little weaker. The good news, I guess, if you want to say it, if you guys want to hold this, is, you know, this $7 mark. Below that, it's dipped a couple times, but that, you know, that mid-7 range is proven so far to be pretty good support, and it kind of correlates back here with some of the base building that was happening here. And so if you're on it still and you've not cleared it, I'd probably just hold on to it until it clears this here at this point. If you're looking to buy it, I'd really wait until it gave me some more strength signals personally. You know, right now it's kind of signaling a little bit, just it's finally starting to break this 10 EMA on the 4-hour charts. And so that could be the sign of a higher low coming into play, potentially breaking this downtrend here. So, you know, I might be able to take it on a trade. I expect there's going to be some resistance as it bounces up to $11. And so if it gets that high, wouldn't be a bad trade. I mean, you know, you can get 27% out of that. So not a bad trade, but just be careful going into that range if it starts to pop, and we'll see what it does right around there. So Omise Go. Let's look at 10X, one of the big movers today. And, you know, from the token cards or the crypto cards, and there's a few of them, 10X is probably my favorite. And I've been saying that for a while. And I just, you know, the chart has been hurting, but the project itself is really good. And look at that volume today. That's nice, right? So when you see the volume coming in that big at the lows, that's good. You don't want to see that kind of volume at the highs. That's usually the end, right? Like we saw up here. But at the lows, that's really nice. And so what I'm liking here is I'm looking at this and I'm thinking this low and pop today correlates with the top of that last little base it put in. You know, in late, what is that, late July. Let me just build that up for you guys a little bit. So that's what I'm looking at here. I was looking at that that little base that it was putting in, and that looks good. So the move today is a little bit of confirmation that that's the low that's going to hold right now. The downtrend, it's trying, the near-term downtrend's broken. It's breaking that 10 EMA on the daily, which is very good. And, you know, it still has some work to do personally, but I like it. I like the action. If we look at that little flag pattern it's putting in, big volume on the buy side, and, you know, on the sell side, not a huge amount of volume, which is what you want to see. You want to see the breakouts hold. And the last couple of days we haven't, right? We've seen them go up and they just drift down, 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 and then they fail. This one so far is holding. You had the big, you know, there was a ton of sellers that showed up here, but understandably so. I mean, just a huge bar. So that's not worrying me too much. The sell side is what I was looking for, is how big of a reaction do you get on the downside? And, you know, you're seeing this, you're seeing a little bit of bar here getting smaller. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Let's look at the hourlies. So not bad. I mean, not bad. The 10 EMA is catching up here. So ideally, on the 1 hour chart, this is generally what the traders are looking for. The moving average is caught up. It held this little bit of a flag pattern. And so, you know, it's kind of checking all the boxes, right? It's looking pretty good. You don't want to see it break below the lows here around, let's call it 55 or so, as you want to give it a little bit of room. But that's not bad, right? So if you're waiting to get on it, or if you're not on it and you're thinking maybe I should get on this one, here's what I would do. I mean, you can get it here on a low entry. This is pretty good, actually, in my opinion, because, you know, you don't have to give it a whole lot of room to the downside before you just step aside and then let it kind of base out again. Or if you want to wait for confirmation, you can get it on a close above this, the candles, right? You don't have to wait for the whole wick. You just kind of wait for the hourly close. So, you know, anywhere around the 62 to 63 range is probably what I'd be looking for a breakout and a further leg up. Ideally, in my opinion, I would rather it just kind of did this for another day or so and just chop a little bit, mostly because I want the 4 hour 10 EMA to catch up. Those are generally much stronger support levels than the hourlies. The hourlies are good for short-term trading and stuff like that, but on the 4 hour chart, if the 10 EMA starts to catch up and it holds it and it starts to move, that's a little bit more of a sustainable move, meaning you can probably ride that for a couple of weeks or a day or a couple, you know, a day or a couple of weeks, right? So a little bit more of a longer term hold, and ideally that's how I would prefer, not the 1 hour trades and the little pops and then you're out, you know, an hour later. But you can play both ways. All right, so that's 10x. Good action on 10x. Let's see what we got in the comments. Oh, Lisk. We didn't talk about Lisk. Let's see. Lisk. Fake breakout. Someone said fake breakout. Hey, it could be, right? In this market, definitely that's something I keep in mind always, because we've just seen it. I mean, it is what it is. So I'm certainly thinking that when I see these moves, I'm thinking fake breakout, but doesn't mean you can't try. And you have to try sometimes, right? I mean, nobody knows for sure if it's going to be the breakout that holds, but you got to give them a shot sometimes. And let's see here. So Lisk on the broader charts, right? This is what I've been watching for a little bit now. And it's putting in a little bit choppy, right? Be nice if it was a little firmer, but it's certainly putting in this really big, long ascending pattern here. And this goes back to late August, and versus BTC has been holding up pretty good. Now, if you're looking at the dollar price of this, obviously it's coming down and going up with Bitcoin, but versus BTC, holding up pretty good. So I'm liking this. There's just been a ton of resistance above the 166 area here and the 170. And so this is a little higher risk right now until it clears that resistance here at the 172, 173 area. But not a bad one. And the thing here too, just like one of the other ones I mentioned with Decred, look at how wide these bars are historically. And so if you're willing to take a trade like this and you're trading these, you got to give them some room. Otherwise, you're going to be shaken out. I mean, if you look at this bar here, that's 15% in a day. And so ideally, you know, you're buying on the trend here and you're buying on the lows and you're not giving it too much, or you're using a way for a breakout, but you got to give it some room. So that's what I'm looking at. I like Lisk. I sent the newsletter out yesterday, And I mentioned a few of them. Lisk was one of them. That's, you know, yesterday when I said the newsletter, I said there's really not a whole lot, not a lot of good looking charts, to be honest. But I think I mentioned Dash, Decred, and Lisk, if I remember correctly. But you know, Lisk is looking good. I know they're rebranding. You know, they got some good things in the works. So let's see if this one can work. Now, the thing I like about Lisk too, another thing I like about it. Where is it on the list here? I think they're higher up. Lisk, where are you? It's 600. You know, trades pretty good volume, right? It's starting to become one of the bigger traded names, and you like to see that, right? You like to see a little bit more volume and liquidity coming in. Hopefully, when we start to see that volume, it'll tighten up the daily range on that a little bit, but we'll see. All right, here, let me go down some lists. Let me look at my notes here. I had a few more names that I was going to cover before looking at the comments. What was the other one? I think I might have covered them then. All right, let me look at the chat room here and see what we got going on. All right. Vertcoin. Monero, that's what it was. Monero. Right. Dash. Yeah, that was the other one. Dash. So let's look at them. You know what? Let's just do them all. All right. So Monero on the Bitfinex versus the dollar. You know, looking similar right here, right? With the big low. This just kind of looks like Litecoin almost in a lot of ways here at the right hand side here, following the 15th. September 15th, the day that will live in infamy. But right here, similar pattern, just as some of the bigger ones, right? We're putting this double bottom pattern here. So that's looking good. But what you're going to want to see is this confirmation that it can get above this break below 90. That was the support level that it was holding as it was kind of basing out here, and it just went to the downside. Not huge volume to the downside. I mean, this was crazy volume. So that's a good sign, but not a lot of big volume on the upside just yet either. But you're seeing that a lot with some of these. So there you go. There's a closer look at that double bottom. Again, a little bit of a bullish divergence on the RSI, and you're seeing that pattern a lot, which is, you know, it kind of builds the case for me that, hey, maybe the market wants to bounce here because it's not just in one coin. You're seeing it across the board, which is good. So kind of confirms each other, right? I mean, and that's generally how I'll approach the trade, right? I'll look at Bitcoin because that's going to drive a lot of the movement, but then I'll start looking at the broader market conditions. What are the leaders doing? What are some of the names doing? And if they're confirming, then that's always good too. So Monero, if you're not in it now, you know, I'd probably just wait for confirmation personally. If you're holding it, I mean, at this point, you might as well just keep holding. It's looking good. Don't let it get below today's lows, because then there's really, I mean, at that point, you're just kind of basing it off of moving averages or retracements, Fibonacci retracements or something, because there's really not a whole lot to go off of below that. So from a support perspective, yeah, all the moving averages are just above it, right? So let me see here. Look at the dailies. The dailies. This is nice though. I mean, not a lot of sell volume on the downside. So where's 100? 100's way down here still. But you got to remember though, Monero had basically a triple, and I just think it's going to need some more consolidation personally. Dash. Let's look at Dash. Anybody have any ideas? What are they announcing this week? They're saying it's a big announcement. What was the name of that app they were going to come out with? They were talking about it last year. It was going to change cryptocurrency. We're not going to need to use addresses anymore. You could use like a username or something. That just sounded really neat. I was wondering if they made any more progress on that. But yeah, they got the conference ahead of the World Blockchain Forum, so we'll see. Should be interesting. But versus Bitcoin, I mean, the last couple of days, last week or so, definitely has been, yeah, Dash Evolution. Thank you. The last couple of days has been, you know, nice, outperforming, holding up better than the others. And if we look at Dash versus dollar here, yeah, this is probably okay. You know, it was putting in this little bit of a base here, and it tried a couple times. I tried to take a little position in it yesterday, and then I got out of the way when Bitcoin looked like it wanted to go lower. So I'm not in it right now, but, you know, it's it's not bad. I mean, the sell volume yesterday was not encouraging either, to be honest. Maybe the news leaked and everybody that was buying it said, nah, and they sold it. Who knows? But, you know, so I want to see it close above this 350 area. That would be ideal for me. But, you know, it's not that far away from all-time highs at that point. I mean, if you're looking from this point up, you're only 15% away from all-time highs. And so from a relative strength perspective versus some of the other names, 15% away from an all-time high is very strong, right? There's very few other coins that you can say are that close to their most recent highs. And so that's a good sign, right? And when I see that, when I see these relative strength, the market's really tanking and this one's holding up, you got to pay attention, right? It's just showing some resilience there. Now, this certainly has been volatile. It went from 400 down to 220, but everything kind of got the smack down. But look at where it stopped, right? Right at the old base here that it was building for a really long time. That was a really long base. At the big rally, now it's kind of consolidating, but not bad. We'll see what this weekend holds. I don't know if I'm going to get on it before the weekend. Probably not, to be honest with you guys. I'm going to just try to focus on some of the other names. Yesterday, I was on it because I was thinking, well, there's not a whole lot else working, and that was probably looking the best. But we'll see. All right. So we talked Monero. We talked Dash, Zcash, Lisk, Omisego, Neo, Ethereum Classic. Man, what's going on with Ethereum Classic these days? I was really thinking this was ready to go, and it's not. I was really looking at this daily chart, and it's still kind of in play, but I was thinking, hey, there's a little bit of a descending wedge pattern, and generally they resolve themselves with a little pop. But I don't know. It's just not working out yet. So let me see. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. It's putting in a good low, but it's just looking weak. Let's see here. Lisk, we talked. Let's talk quantum. Quantum. Yeah, I'm going to look at Iota too. Iota. So quantum, I'm watching this one and I'm, just paying attention to it. But right now, just not one of the stronger names. I mean, it's just breaking down. It's right at the lows here. How low can it go? How much lower? But it's right at the lows. So it's going to have to prove itself to me, in my opinion. It's just kind of been all over the place. And nothing bullish about the daily pattern, right? There's no good volume patterns. RSIs slam down at the bottom. Moving averages are not good. I mean, just, it's got to convince me. It can have these quick pops. I mean, it did back here. It looked like it was wanting to go. But just not there yet. Now that I said that, guys, you just go buy it because it's going to go up like 100% tomorrow. So you might as well just go get it. But I'm not doing anything with quantum right now. Let's see what else we got here. So we talk Lisk, Stratus, and I'll do ARC. Oh, let's see here. Stratus again. Stratus is one of those ones that has way back here bit me a couple times. So now when it has little breakouts, like I don't even care. Like it goes up like 20%, and I'm going, yeah, we'll see. Like here, that back day, and all the sell volume came in, and it was just like done. So I'm leery of Stratus right now. I mean, they've got some good stuff. The project, don't get me wrong. I mean, the team is great, and the project's good, and the coin is just on the markets right now, just looking weak. Just simply put, it's looking weak. Let me zoom in a little bit here. I mean, it's not even trying to rally today. So I don't know. Versus Bitcoin, I wouldn't be in Stratus. ARC. You own every single coin so far. At least you're diversified. Oh, man. So here's my philosophy on owning coins. I like the core of my portfolio. I minimize the number of coins, right? So like I'll hold like less than 10 for sure. And it's concentrated generally, like, 60% of the portfolio will be like in 3 coins. And that's just usually how it goes. I like to just focus. And then, yeah, the last 20%, maybe you can split it up and throw it around to a few names. But I definitely don't hold like the top 20. That's for sure. What am I looking at here? ARC. Let's see here. So ARK is holding that 30 EMA so far, but you guys got to remember this had this huge rally, and it's looking good. Now, the thing I like about ARK, it's taking a hit with the market, no doubt, but the volume on this one has been pretty good. Let me zoom out a little bit here so we can adjust. You know, just in the last couple of days, it's been below average. The build up here, look at how much green. I mean, it was just massive volume going into that buy, and it's just kind of pulling in a little bit. So that's good, right? There's not a lot of dumpers right up the top here per se. I mean, you had this big shakeout, and it just got supported, and it's just drifting down right now. Let's do some analysis on this one because I like ARK too, and I'm not in this one here. I was just taking some profits up here. And that was just, I had no idea about the market. That was just me purely taking profits, selling on strength because I bought on this little base. So I was selling into this little run up. But let's do some analysis on this one here. Let's see here. If we do a fib from this most recent swing low down here to the very top, I mean, right now we've just breached the 38, the 50-day or the 30 EMA is holding right at the 50% retracement. That's not really a fib level per se, but a lot of things will just go down 50%. And 618, or the 61%, is going to take you down to that old base here. Certainly in the cards, in my opinion. But this could hold right here, so not too bad. Not too bad. RSI is bottoming here around 50 on the dailies. Let's zoom in a little bit here, how it looks. Let me clear this for you guys. You guys don't want to see that. You know, it's in the near term, right? This is the 2-hour chart. In the near term, it's just trending down. So I would just wait. If you're holding it, oh man, that's tough. What do you do if you're holding it? I guess it depends on where you got it, right? I mean, if you're buying in this base down here, you're still in the green. You might want to give it a little bit of a, you got to pick your spot, right? Maybe today's low and say, hey, I'm still up 23% or 25% or whatever, and I'll take it if it drops below that, or just kind of depends on where you got in. But you know, ARK was a good one. It had a nice run from this little breakouts, tons of good volume coming in. So it's pulling back. It needed to pull back, and the market forces, of course, are just kind of overwhelming it right now. But we'll see. Seeing little green pops here to the downs on the downside. So we'll see if we can start to form a little flat base or round out here a little bit. All right. Node, how old are you? You're calling me old? Oh my goodness. How old do I sound? Just curious. I'll tell you guys, but I'm just curious. How old do I sound? No, I'm sorry. How young do I sound? Crypto space traditionally is a younger space. Let me see. The guesses are coming in. 32, 27, 32, 45, 35, 33, 43, 38, 46, 25, 30, 45, 40. I can't keep up. 29, 21. Holy moly. 40s, a lot of 40s. Man, I sound old. 100. Close. Getting close. 2. Sometimes. 35. Man, you guys are guessing. You guys are guessing right on. I'm 35. So you guys are guessing. Yeah. All right. Been doing this since I was 2. All right, guys. Let's move on. Let's see what else we got going on here. Okay. You guys want to talk Bcash, Bitcoin Cash? Let's see what Bcash looks like. I'm going to go on the tracks. Oh, let me see what we got. You know, I had that breakout attempt. I think I mentioned it in my last video. It was actually looking really good. And I took a little entry on it, got stopped out, and just continued lower. Not looking good at the moment. Some volumes coming in here at the lows, but let me see if I go versus the dollar. Yeah, it's just looking lower, and it's just kind of, you know, lower high. This low, lower high here. So I'm not doing anything with this one just yet. As far as trading goes, I'm not holding it for my long-term portfolio either. But that's Bcash. Nothing to do, in my opinion. It tried. It really did try earlier this week, and just failed. It is what it is. Let's see what else we got going on here. I'm going to do a couple more. Man, I've been going for an hour. Well, not quite. I started like 5 or 10 minutes late, but time flies when you're having fun. Oh, let me see here. All the small names are coming in. All right. Iota. And so, guys, no offense. I don't have anything against the small names. I just they're kind of, how do you say it? They're easy to move, right? I mean, they're just, you get the volume and they go up and everybody gets excited, and it's like a stupid crap coin that has a funny idea that makes no sense, but it's up like 80%, 100%. Everybody says it's going to be the next Ethereum. And I'm just skeptical. These small names, they're just easy to move around. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you can't trade them, but you know, don't fall in love with the idea or the coin and get all crazy, and then next thing you know, it's like it's gone, it's trash. I've just seen too many of those in the last couple of weeks that it is what it is. So that being said, Iota. So Iota had the big run after the fork here, very clean, probably the nicest steady channel that I had seen ever in crypto. Maybe not ever, but it was nice. But since then, we flattened out, we pulled back, and it's gotten a little choppy down here at the lows, which leads me to believe there's a little battle going on, and I'm thinking these are going to be the lows, and we just need to start basing out right now. But I'm liking it here. I mean, as far as a potential hold, if you're a long-term holder and you didn't sell, near $1, at this point, it's not bad. It's not good either, but it's not bad. I'd probably hold it and give it a little bit. I mean, you've ridden down a couple of waves here, and these lows, this consolidation that it had around 45 cents, and then just most recently right above that, is probably the most I'd give it, in my opinion, if I was still holding it. It's trying, right? It had this little rally, it tried to get above, but I don't see anything actionable right now. I guess let's just put it that way. It's just a similar pattern to the other ones, right? This little double bottom. So at this point, you'd be buying it purely because this is a project that I really like, and I'm going to do this, and it's it was $1 a month ago, and now it's half the price. Then yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? If you're a believer and you want to buy this thing and you want to hold it, I mean, totally makes sense. Especially considering when it broke out, it was like 39 cents or whatever it was, 29 cents down here. And you're just not even double that right now. So, longer term perspective, absolutely, right? I mean, you're going to get it here at the pullback, and this pullback is coinciding with this little bit of a support it had here. I got to do this adjust because of the bar, but I had the big initial after the ICO, had this big resistance point, came down, popped. We blew right through that on the last run, and we're now pulling back, and we're in that general vicinity. So if you're holding it, those are the levels I'm watching. I'm going to be watching these most recent lows here, and probably wouldn't give it too much. Unless I see some big volume pop to the upside, I'm not going to be holding it right now or buying it, in my opinion. All right, let me look through these comments, see if there's any few others I want to talk about here. Where's Node Investor Coin? I don't see Node Investor Coin. I'm going to launch an ICO. I'm kidding, guys. SEC, if you're listening, I'm kidding. All right, let me see here. Oh, no, Trig. That's what I'm talking about. I just, they're moving. I'm just not going to cover those right now. We talked Zcash. We talked the Litecoin guys. At the very beginning, I did the top 3. I did Neo. Oh, let me see what else. We just talked Iota. Rise, yeah, it's been on a run, but again, a smaller coin. I mean, just who knows, right? I could say, yeah, it looks good here, and then like tonight it'll just dump. Who knows, right? It's just hard to say. Okay, cash. All right, guys. I didn't cover Golem. I'll do one more, cover Golem, then I'll call it done for the day. Let's see what we got here. Golem, I think it had a little pump and dump today. Man, yeah, it's just hard. It's right at the lows, so I'm hoping it holds here, these lows. I don't have any Golem. It really tried again today. I don't know what it was, or news, or a tweet. I think it was that, but just sold off, right? And that's just a bad sign. We're seeing that a little bit right now in the market, but nothing to do with Golem, in my opinion, unless one of those big pops stick, right? I mean, the perfect example is what we looked at is something like Pay, where it goes up and you want them to hold, right? On the 4 hour, I'm going to want it to hold that 10 EMA. Let me see on the 1 hour. Looks like it just breached below. Bye, bye, bye. I'm kidding. But yeah, these little breakouts right now, they're just tough calls. So when you see them, it's easy to get excited, but you got to be a little more skeptical right now, at least until the markets and Bitcoin in general just start to confirm that they want to bounce at least. One more look at Bitcoin. Let's see here. We just crossed over the daily charts. So 4 hours. It's trying to point a little double bottom. If it starts to roll over here, then that's going to invalidate that little signal that I'm looking for here. But we'll see. 10 EMA on the 4 hour chart is going to be the first sign that, hey, maybe we're moving up here, and then closing above this 37, ultimately 3,800 where it broke down from. Those are the levels that I'm really going to want to see Bitcoin get above. If we dump below today's lows, I'll probably put in some orders around 3,400 and then maybe 3,300. I'm thinking that's going to hold and buy that. And, you know, if it dips below a little bit, I'll probably write it down a little, give it some room. Certainly not below these crazy lows, below 3,000, but we'll see. I don't think we'll see it that low. But who knows? And when I say that, I'm talking like tonight or this weekend. I'm talking near term, not next month. Who knows? Anything can happen in a month. In crypto space, a month is a really long time. All right, folks. Appreciate y'all joining, man. This was good. This was fun. And keep you guys posted. Until next time, take care, everyone.